The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip, and CJ is MIA. Oh, here he comes. He must have got captured. It is Monday in the Riv, and I'll tell you, we've got so much to talk about today that I think this is going to probably take us the entire week to cover some of the things. But we'll start with, unfortunately, what we always have to talk about. But CJ can say hello to you when he gets wired up here.
I'm wired up.
Okay.
I stepped out for a moment.
Stepped out.
And we have a 50 Gray report.
Yes. Shots
fired on Tuttle Street.
Tuttle Street, in case you don't know where that is, that's down the south end.
That's right.
Okay, it runs parallel to South Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
And to go along with it, we downloaded this. We picked this one up. You see the Massachusetts crest here?
Yep.
We'll go into this in detail later because we just got so much to talk about that catastrophe of whatever they called it.
They called it a town hall meeting.
Town hall meeting. That political sham that they tried to put on, but they've been exposed, and really exposed. But I'm just showing this today because it's old. That report will be posted. We will get it up on a site. It's about the most dangerous. You know, the article examined Massachusetts' most dangerous cities. Our research used the FBI Uniform Crime Reporting Statistics reports on violent crime and property crime. The most dangerous city in Massachusetts. Get ready for it. Drum roll. Here we go. We're number one. We're number one. Fall River. Shots fired. Oh, well. Another one. So we will talk about this, obviously, but it's always a problem. But we did promise to talk about Conley.
Yep.
And we had one other thing, and then we can get into that meeting. But Conley closed. Yep. We talked about that Friday.
Yep.
It's a shame. I heard they were down to 120 students.
I know. I had read something about that, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's a high school, and they have they have a sports program and everything. So I'm trying to figure out where
and academically, their students do very, very well.
They do.
But you know, I hate to tell this to all the wokey yuppies and our rich people who like to use all these euphemisms, and we'll get into it very shortly. And have no idea of the life that regular people live because they showed it, and we're going to listen to them in their own words, prove they don't know anything, okay? But this is a symptom of the times. People are stretched to the limit.
Yeah,
they can't afford to send their kids to a private school anymore, and they can't get them into a charter school because it's a lottery. And they can't get kids. There's not enough charter schools. They don't want to send their children to underperforming schools, but they can't afford it anymore, especially in the Fall River area.
Right.
Because the Fall River area, between the inflation, the rise in taxes, and oh baby, wait till we get into that and what they're going to do to your water bill. All I can tell you is get the giant jar of Vaseline. Because they're coming for you. And when we wait till budget time, watch the circus at budget time coming. But it's too bad. You know, Conley was a good school.
Yeah.
It put out some quality students, and it was an option that Fall River has lost, and that's a terrible thing. And it's lost why? Because these people never stop taxing you and doing nothing except giving out jobs and saying, oh, well, we can't give you a tax break. We can't help you because our state rep said, oh, we didn't make enough money. We didn't reach our benchmark. our benchmark. BS. You were crowing about the billions of dollars you had in reserve, but you never spend it on the people. You never help the regular people. But it's a shame. Conley had some really famous and infamous graduates. I believe Jaisel graduated from Conley.
Yes, he did.
And but it was a good school.
Yeah.
My son actually went to Conley for like 2 weeks when he got out of grammar school. He got in, he got in easily as but he decided to go to Durfee because he said that he was sick of wearing uniforms because he went to a school that required uniforms.
Right.
And when they get to a certain age, they go, no, I don't want to have to wear another uniform.
Right.
Like, and they were still wearing uniforms. And I said, well, you realize you go to Durfee. I said, in one way, it's a really good thing because you're going to see the real world because there are people there you don't want to get near. You're going to learn how to choose your friends wisely. Conley's a little bit different. But he went, and obviously he did well. But it's a shame because, it's a good school, and it's a shame isn't it ironic that we always lose the outstanding schools? It's just like you remember this vividly because you're in the field. The only state hospital they ever closed was Lakeville.
Making money.
Was Lakeville.
Yep.
You know why they closed it, everybody? Because the politicians said, hey, wait a minute. This hospital is making money. It's in the black. We got to sell this to one of our friends because we can't have this. We can only have money pits. Mm-hmm. All the other hospitals are losing money, and we get all our friends jobs there, and they lose money, and they just keep losing money, and we just keep funding it with taxpayer money. Like today, Biden's bailing out Silicon Valley with all the hundreds of billions of dollars that they got. He's bailing out the banks again, not the poor people.
We just did that in 2008.
I know.
Amazing how history repeats itself.
Yeah, it does. But, it's tragic when you see stuff like this. It really is tragic because there's just no consideration. You people don't remember. It's a long time ago. CJ and I remember it. I knew somebody who worked there, then went to Tewksbury, then went back to Mass Hospital School, ended up the head of the union, and I actually consulted on a grievance for them. The Mass, she was the head of the department, but the union. But this is crazy. This is what happens. So it's a shame. I'm sorry.
Nursing students used to have to go to Lakeville.
Yeah.
When I went to nursing school.
For the hydrocephalic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. And they had one patient, I don't even know if he's still alive. His head was the size of our table here. It was unbelievable. And he was a happy-go-lucky guy, even though he couldn't lift his head, and it was amazing. It really was amazing.
Yeah, they did great work on it. A lot of orthopedic stuff, too.
Mm-hmm,
it was a really great hospital.
Yeah.
But this is what they do. If you can make money on it, give it to one of your friends to make money. We don't want to have that. We don't want the state and the government ever to do anything effectively and efficiently.
Right.
Because if that happens, we're doing it wrong when it comes to politics. So we've set the table. Now the other thing I got to touch is CPA. By the way, New Bedford's got on the ballot. They're going to talk about. They're going to talk about rent control.
Rent control.
Repealing the C. Why does New Bedford? I'm embarrassed. We've always been competing with New Bedford. We always said Durfee's better than New Bedford High. Blah blah blah. They're killing us, man. Mitchell's got a plan for affordable housing. They're putting rent control on the ballot. They're repealing the CPA to give people a break.
Yep.
And they've also they're shortening the term. Thank you. We spoke about 2-year terms when they tried to pull a 4-year term in our charter. You got to have as many elections as possible so you can get these bums out as quickly as possible. You don't want to get saddled with some horrible mayor,
some jabroni,
for 4 years, because the only thing a 4-year term allows them to do is raise more money. Because they don't have to run every other year. But kudos to New Bedford, but we're on the CPA. I just got to touch on this. I got a call from a member of the CPA board. We had a nice conversation. I guess he watches our show. He said he does, which is nice. And as we say, we don't,
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
But as we say, we consider everything. We've given our opinion. I never believed in a CPA from
Neither
the
did I.
get-go. I don't believe we should be subsidizing anything. If you want to preserve something, preserve it. Go and raise funds to preserve whatever it is. The reality is that the taxpayers are being overburdened now. We should not be subsidizing this. We should not be But we had a conversation about affordable housing and the money they had in the affordable housing. So and obviously I'm going to give him the benefit that he was telling me the truth. I'm sure he was, because he knows that we'll check. But he told me that the reason they got all that money in there is that they are hesitant to just piecemeal throw money into things. They wanted a major project to invest this money into, which actually makes sense.
Makes perfect
sense. And I agreed with him. It made perfect sense.
Right.
He said, we don't want to give $300,000 to 2 units and this and that. We'd like to see something like in Somerset, like where they're building 64 units.
Yeah.
He said, and then we'll, gladly do this stuff. And so to show you, this is why you should talk. This is why you put things out there, and then you learn and you evolve this thing. So, we kind of said, look, they're sitting on it, but then they gave us a valid reason. It makes a lot of sense. The only problem, and the only thing that doesn't make sense, is if you're going to wait till hell freezes over and the Bruins are playing a Stanley Cup game down in hell, because they'll never do that as long as Paul Coogan and the Fiolas are involved in market rate housing. They don't want to do this. And that segues in, unless you want to talk at CPA, segues into, we got ding, ding, ding.
Yep.
Okay. I got the dog bark, you got the other one. So we got our distinctive rings. But they had a town meeting, they called it a
Town hall meeting.
Town hall, yeah, that's the town hall banana stuff. And our congressman, Jake Auchincloss, was there. And they were talking and they were taking questions, and there was a question that came up about affordable housing. And it turned into one of the most revealing things I have ever seen about what we have in the city. I'm going to encapsulate it, then we're going to play a little bit of this, because they're short little excerpts. Well, what happened was our man and advocate, Nelson, walked up there and he walked up and said, you'll listen to it. He said, thank you for being here, blah, blah, blah. Then he talked about the Rent and Fall River, what it was a couple of years ago and what it is now, and the thing on it. And Auchincloss tried to dismiss him by saying it sounds like a stump speech. So let me explain something to Mr. Auchincloss, who's a congressman. You better look, I know you went to Harvard. So maybe you can look in a dictionary. A stump speech is defined as a speech given by a politician to support his election or re-election, not a citizen and an advocate for the people talking about the problems of the average Fall Riverite. So he was dismissive, but the only good thing that happened, and we'll get into this in depth after we listen to this, is what he called out Paul Coogan. He said, what are you going to do about a mayor that doesn't care about this? And I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
You'll hear the words, I hope, over the microphone. And he said, and Auchincloss said, well, you called out the mayor. I'm going to let him come up and address your issues. And he said, come up, Paul. No, I don't want to talk about it. Let the people talk. Let the people talk my butt. Mm-hmm. He said, I'll talk to him off mic. Of course he's going to talk to him off mic. What are you going to say to him? What you've already said to him? Shut up. You're not supposed to speak on this because you live in public housing. Shut up unless you go buy a house. Shut up. If you like what Mitchell is doing in New Bedford, go move to New Bedford. A bit insensitive, to say the least, on the part of our mayor, who likes to give candy to kids, but he doesn't do anything for their parents. Yeah, a little bit. He wouldn't say anything. He exposed himself, and you know why he didn't say anything? Because he couldn't. He's done nothing that has any major effect on the affordable housing crisis. So with that, I'm going to play this little vignette here. I hope it comes through the mic.
But that doesn't need to take away efforts from investing in the countries of origin of a lot of our emigres who are struggling with crime and poverty that is causing people to flee for a better life, and we can be both working with those host countries as well as securing our border.
The next question is over here, Congressman.
Hi, Congressman Auchincloss. It's great to see you again. Thank you for coming to Fall River. 2 years ago, around this time, the median gross rent in Fall River was $918 according to the United States Census. 2 years later, the average rent in Fall River is a little over $1,700. And as we know, 2 years ago, there's been a huge influx of market rate housing that this city does not want to put a stop to equalize what's going on. And our city residents have been voicing their concerns about being priced out. It's so much of a problem that Boston City Council has passed the Michelle Wu's home rule petition to bring rent control for Boston, and there is a bill right now in the legislature to make it statewide. And it's so much of a problem that the city of New Bedford, the mayor of New Bedford has put forward the city council has put forward a non-binding ballot question to bring rent control in New Bedford. So my question to you is this. This city is not listening to the people. And I'm here speaking for every single Fall River resident.
What's the question?
My question is, what are you going to do to direct Paul Coogan to decrease his love affair for market rate housing and to put in affordable housing? Because I'm getting calls from seniors, working families.
All right, I hear your question. It's a question and answer. It's not a stump speech.
It's not a stump speech. My thing is this. It's a real concern.
I will respond. Hold on. I will respond. So first of all, the cost of housing is the single biggest problem in Massachusetts right now. Full stop. It's a crisis in Massachusetts. I see it with young families trying to buy their first home or rent their first home. I see it.
All right, I got to stop it right there. You notice how he cut him off?
Yep, they always do.
I don't want to hear it. Shut up, Nelson, and get out of here. We don't want to hear this. This is strictly for an optic. We want to pat each other on the back and tell you how much we care about you peons. I don't want to hear it. It's a stump speech, and I already said it's not a stump speech. Here's a guy who does nothing but give stump speeches because he's a politician. And this was a stump town hall for them to pretend that they got an interest in this. Okay? Cut him off. He has a right. I got it. But when we went to the MBTA, we had to sit through an hour's worth of their videos and statistics and everything. We had to listen to what they had to say. But they don't want to hear what we got to say. Yet you're trying to tell them what you, and you're basing it by giving him information. You told him the rents. You're telling them that they're not doing anything. You're explaining your position, but you can't. Remember what Paul said to Kevin Aguirre. Shut up. You just vote no. I don't care if you want to know specifics. Either just vote no, because I know I got the votes.
Yep.
You're not allowed to ask. Remember, they jumped all over Michelle Dion for asking questions about the police contract. See, this is the way they operate. They can talk all they want. They can make up numbers. They can have numbers that are strictly for discussion. But you go there with real numbers, they don't want to hear it. Okay, let's get back to this.
With senior citizens who are in panic mode about their ability to afford rent, groceries, prescription drugs, and it's north and south of the district. It is going to require a suite of solutions, federal, state, and local. At the federal level, we've got to expand the low-income housing tax credit, which creates strong incentives for developers to build affordable housing. It's an effective program. It's underfunded. We got to increase the funding for it. At the state level, they need to, they have passed the MBTA Communities Act, which will require cities with access to MBTA service to build more missing middle, multifamily, and mixed-use development. Fall River is not one of those cities or towns, but increasing the supply of housing closer to Boston will take some of the steam out the kettle and reduce overall housing prices throughout the labor market of Greater Boston. And then I'm not gonna, I'm aware Fall River is not a member of the MBTA Communities Act law. And I'm not gonna respond to your commentary on the local level with Mayor Coogan, but because you did call him out by name, I do think he deserves the chance to speak to what he's doing at the local level. Mayor, if you want to, it's up to you. All right. I heard you multiple times address it. Okay.
Right here.
Could barely hear that.
I know, you can barely hear him mumbling. He wouldn't get anywhere near a microphone because remember what Auchincloss said. Let him come up and explain what he's doing.
Right.
And I've spoken to Nelson before. This is, again, the Paul Coogan. I want each individual city councilor to talk to me individually, and then nobody knows what I said. I will not ever discuss anything in a public forum to let the people know what I'm going to do. He's done nothing. He knows it. He was afraid to go up there and defend his actions on affordable housing because he has nothing but inaction. This is a disgrace. And then Auchincloss went on, it may be on the other one, to talk about public housing because he doesn't know the difference. Another guy that doesn't know the difference. And he talked about, and we may get to that because we're almost done with this one. He talked about how, you know, they deserve like a clean place to live and stuff. I mean, this guy, is he for real?
He's from Newton.
Is he for real? Does he think that people who are poor are dirty? I guess so. Because it's like these people, they live like animals.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the mill owners that said the only thing the people in their mills, they had every right to make them work 14 hours a day because all they ever do is drink and fornicate when they're not working. And that's, you know, that's the old stereotypes that they like to use. And a Harvard congressman who lives in Newton and did a stump speech, and I saw it on Channel 10 News. It said, I knocked on every door in my neighborhood. Well, let me explain something. Here's the stats. You know what his neighborhood is? And Nelson had the rents right on like $918.21. Now it is $1,700. Well, I've got the stats this morning. They're right off the presses. The average house in Fall River when we were paying $918 was $281,000. I'm sorry, I got the other one. I got it in bigger print. $282,500 according to this. That's there. And in Jakey's neighborhood, the median, and remember this was 2 years ago, $992,800, nearly $1 million. Well, I can tell you, Jake, it's a lot easier to knock on doors when the house is average $1 million and up. There's not a hell of a lot of bullet holes in those houses. There's not bags littering the streets like they are here.
They're not triple deckers.
I would invite you to come down with me and walk the streets of Fall River. Knock on some doors the next time you run. Don't have Paul Coogan endorse you. Come down and work Fall River the way you work Newton. And remember, to show you the difference, this is 2 years ago. Owner-occupied housing in Fall River, 36.3. Owner-occupied housing in Newton, because they got a lot of money, at $1 million a house, 71.8%.
Yeah.
Poverty, Newton, 4.2%. Poverty, Fall River, 19%. Per capita income, 28,000. Newton, 81,000. That's all, they make, our per capita income is nearly their per capita income is nearly 3 times. Household income, 49,613 versus 164,607, which is more than 3 times, 3.5 times. Yet, the point I think Nelson was trying to make that you don't want to hear is that with our rents going up to $1,700 median is almost what Newton's paying, because their median is $2,000. We're only $300 less than the Newton rents, and we make 2/3 less. We have 1/3 of the income, yet we're paying about 95% of what Newton pays. Do we really have the ability to pay? Are these people this stupid that they can't see there's a problem? They said, oh yeah, the governor knows there's a problem. That's what it is. This is what they do. And then they lie their butts off, okay?
Well, I'll give you one, which I read this morning. Guess what Worcester's doing? They've lined themselves up with the governor to create affordable housing. Worcester.
What are they, stupid?
I guess so.
We don't need that stuff.
No, I guess not. You know?
We don't need that stuff.
That's Worcester. Much bigger city than Fall River. And as you know, Worcester laws are totally different from the rest of the Commonwealth.
Exactly. They can kind of do anything they want.
Exactly. So they've aligned with the governor to get more money to build affordable housing.
But you know something? I'm looking at the time. This is too bad. Like I said, we're going to have it. We've got another video of Carole Fiola, and we'll do that on Wednesday. We'll lead with this. Carole Fiola coming up to the mic, and if she was Pinocchio, the tip of her nose would have burnt off because it was already at the sun, 93 million miles away for lying. She had the audacity to get up there and say, and you'll hear it, and I think this is the one that he talks about public housing. They need to have like a clean environment, those peons. She said, market rate housing has got nothing to do with the increases in rents. Does she really believe that we're that stupid? Do you really believe that that developers are gonna come to a city that's #1 in crime, has an underperforming educational system, and has a low median income to saturate it with market rate housing, and that's not going to raise the rents? That's gentrification. There's 150,000 different reports on gentrification and how it's there to force poor people out.
Right.
And average income people out. That was disgraceful. And then between the MBTA and these predatory developers, she had the audacity, and I think she shouldn't even opened her mouth, okay? It's my opinion. Don't say, oh yeah, she got to, no, she doesn't, because it's a conflict of interest. #1, her husband has become a multimillionaire with his $45,000 fees for everybody that's developing market rate housing in this city, and he's the fundamentally, he is the oracle at Delphi for that. And she used to sell real estate. I don't know if she still does.
Still does.
So and she passed the laws to help them do this.
That's right.
She had no business, because she said in this, and we're going to do it Wednesday. She says, oh, we got a caucus. A caucus. They talk about stuff. When politicians get together, it's not a caucus, it's a caucanus. Go ahead, CJ, wrap it up.
Well, I'll tell you now, this weekend was a blow. And if you haven't read the Weekend Flush, please do, because
it is good.
It addressed a lot of this, and as always, Fall River is Fall River, and we can't do anything about it.
Yes,
I want to thank you for
Vote.
watching. I want to thank you for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. I hope.